and welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited to be introducing our brand new stamp set, Special Delivery, and its coordinating dies. This stamp set is so cool because it works great on its own, but it's also designed to work with our waving pull tab starter set. It's so cool, it's interactive, and we're going to show you guys how to do that in this video. And if you remember, the waving pull tab starter set came out with our fall-winter release, and it was perfect with our Snow Much Fun stamp set so that you could make a bear that was doing snow angels. Well, now you can use that same exact die set with our new Special Delivery stamp set to create a really cool interactive flying bird. We are also introducing this other cute little stamp set called the Special Delivery Box Add-on. It works great with Special Delivery and you can also use it on its own. So we're going to go ahead and check these stamp sets out. The Special Delivery stamp set has two adorable birds in it, this kind of classic style bird and then an owl. It has 3 sets of wings that can be used for both birds. These wings can be stamped and die cut and layered behind or stamped directly onto your bird. Then we have this set of wings that's for use in the interactive element we talked about. I'll show you that in just a little bit. And then this style of wings that has them more in a down position. We have a messenger bag and a cute little postal hat. We have a beak that helps you hold all of these little elements in this set. So we have these envelopes and letters. So we have 2 styles of envelopes, and then we have an envelope with the letter coming out, and then the letter separate, so that you can do all sorts of cool interactive elements on your card. We also have these great phrases that fit in the open envelope with the letter or the separate letter. And so first up here we have "You are a hoot," "Happy Heart Day," "XOXO." We have "Hugs." We have "You are," which goes with this cute little sentiment that says "Who's the best?" We have "Miss you" and "Love you," "Happy B-Day," "Many thanks," "Chirp chirp," "I like you," and then there's that "Who's the best?" and then the letter can say "You are" on the inside, and "Chirp chirp" as well. We have some great mix and match sentiments. So we have "Owl, you need is love," or you could stamp "All you need is love" if you weren't in a punny mood. We have "Special Delivery," then "Sending lots of love," or you could stamp out "Sending lots of love for Heart Day," which is cute for Valentine's. And then we have this, my favorite part of the whole thing. It says "and this awesome card" in parentheses. So you can say "Sending lots of love" and this awesome card. Now we're going to add some color to these fun images using Copic markers. And for this first bird here, I wanted to color it in that kind of classic yellow Tweety bird kind of look. But I love that with these birds, you could color them any colors, blues, pink, purples, maybe to match the recipient's favorite color or a really cool pattern paper that you might have. So I just love these birds. And here you can see I'm coloring in the bird where we stamp the wings directly on him. And the way I really like to use that is in the Magic Picture Changer interactive die. You can stamp him with the wings out and then with the wings down. And when you move the Magic Picture Changer, you could have the wings go in and out. So that's why we have those wings, so that you can stamp them directly onto the bird, or you can die cut them and layer them behind. And we'll show you that die cutting in just a second. One of the things that I like to do with my Copic markers is I always like to put my lightest color marker down first, and that's for a couple of reasons. First, I feel like it makes blending between my different colors of markers a little bit easier, and secondly, it helps me kind of test and decide where I want my darkest marker to go. So I'll kind of lay it and be like, is that where I want the shadow in the darkest area to be? Yep, I like that. Okay, now I can add my darker marker. If I decide I don't like it, then my light marker's already there, so it's kind of perfect. So it always kind of gives me a little chance to test and try things out. So here I'm putting my darkest marker, then medium, and then light. Now for these wings here, you can kind of color into the center, because when the die cuts them, you don't need to worry about that center part. So I just kind of blended into the center just a little bit. Now here you'll see I switched to a little bit of a different area because I forgot to turn my camera on. So I just switched to another owl here, and I was totally happy coloring this guy again because he's just so cute. And you can see I added a little bit of extra dark marker there on his belly. I feel like it makes those little details stand out a little bit more. Now here you can see I am coloring in the messenger bag, and at first I colored it in a blue color to kind of match the hat, which I thought was a cool look, but then I also wanted to color it in kind of more like a leather kind of look, and that's what I did over here. And I used the same exact colors that I used for the owl because I thought they looked so pretty together, and then it would kind of give a nice cohesive look. And so you can see there I'm adding just the little shadows there on the edges of the bag and blending those out. And now here we're going to start again with our hat. And you're going to see that I'm going to bring in a lighter marker there just to kind of have a little highlight towards the center. And I feel like that makes it look rounded. And I'm just adding a little more darkness out there towards the edges. And once again, you can almost see that hat becoming rounded by adding darker to the outside and lighter to the center. For the paper and the envelopes, sometimes I like to use a warm gray, or sometimes I'll use a really, really light brown so that it kind of has a cool vintage look to it. And you'll see by just adding a little bit of that light brown or that light gray, it just makes it look a little more special than just leaving it plain white. Next up, we're taking a look at the special delivery box add-on. So right here, it's got a closed box and then an open box, which I think is really adorable. On the outside of the card, you could have the closed box, and on the inside, the open box, as if the box was delivered and then opened up by the recipient. Here are some strings so that our birds can hold those boxes, a really cool ribbon that can go around the box, and then these little labels that you can add to the boxes too, which I think are so sweet. We have special delivery for you and airmail. There's also a little up arrow too. Now this little piece here you can stamp on the box so that it looks like a strip of tape across the top of the box, which is so adorable. We have these 3 hearts, which look really, really sweet, honestly, in any card, even with 2 little critters or coming out of the box as well. And then we have these wonderful sentiments, a little message to say happy birthday or happy bird day, and then happy Valentine's Day. We also have a hello. So now we're going to use Copic markers again to add colors to these. And once again, I'm sticking with those same markers that I used on the owl to kind of create some nice cohesion between all of these images. Now, one of the things I love about these 2 sets is that they're great for Valentine's Day, but I love that they have longevity and are super cute for things like birthday cards too, especially with that little message to say happy bird day. I think that's just adorable. And these boxes are also wonderful used on their own too. There's a die that even cuts a little slit on this open box so that you can tuck different things inside. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. You can see I'm adding some shadow there to the open box so that it looks like there's kind of a deep box you can kind of see inside there. And then for this ribbon, I thought it'd be fun to do a nice bright red ribbon, but you could do this in any color. And this is really cool when it's die cut because it goes like right over the box, or you could stamp it directly onto the box as well. I just love these little hearts here too, and I'm going to go ahead and use the same color markers for those two. I already had them on my desk, and I think the hearts look so great in this beautiful red color. Next, we're going to take out our coordinating dies and cut everything and test those out. So these are the coordinating dies for special delivery, which you can bend apart at the tabs or use your wire snips to separate. We're going to take those coordinating dies and line them up with our stamped images, hold it in place with some low-tack tape. I use some Post-it note tape here, run it through the die cut machine, and you can see now we have some perfectly cut out images. And here's a look at all of the different images in the set and how you can mix and match them. So you can see that you can take those cute little birds and layer them right on top of the wings, and that's going to give them some wings right behind. And you can do that on both the kind of normal bird and the owl, and you can do that with the big wings there or with the down wings, and I think they both just look adorable. You can add the accessories to either of the birds, so that cute little postal hat and those messenger bags just look adorable. I don't know why, it just cracks me up. I think they're so sweet. And now we're going to take a look at the 2 different ways to have your birds hold different things like those cute little letters or even the package in the special delivery box add-on. The first way is to take that stamped beak that we have in the set, we're going to die cut it with its coordinating die and just layer it right over the existing beak and tuck the little letter behind it. And you can do that on either one of the birds, and it's a super quick and easy way to do that. The second way is to use this second die that's included in the coordinating die. So it looks like a little U shape, and what you're going to do is just layer it and line it up right with the beak of the owl or the bird, run it through your die cut machine, and it's going to create this cool little slit there you can see right under his beak, and you can just tuck a letter in there, and I think that's such a cute look. This might be my favorite way because it really just has this cool 3-dimensional feel to it. And here's a look at both ways where you can tuck the card underneath or layer the beak right on top of the owl or bird and the little letter underneath. Now we're going to take a look at the last set of wings that are included in the set, and there's 2 ways to use these wings. So they're the wings right there in the center, and the first way we're going to use them is with some masking. So you can stamp your cute little bird on your card or on your cardstock, and then here I have a full stick Post-it note, and I'm just going to stamp that bird on there and cut him out. And the cutting is really, really easy because you don't need to worry about the feet or the top detail on his head, because the only thing we really need is his body. So I'm just going to cut out this little kind of oval shape here. And then we can lay that right on top of our bird, and that's going to protect him from any stamping that we're going to do. Then we'll ink up those wings and stamp them right over the bird. And this is going to give us some out wings that are a little bit closer in. So it just kind of depends on what look you're going for your card. So here you can see what it looks like. I always love removing the mask. It's so much fun. And we're going to compare it to the other bird that we stamped and colored earlier. See, his wings are a little bit further out. So it's just a slightly different look, but I think it's really, really cute. Now, the other way to use these wings is for the interactive element in the card. And you can selectively stamp them like I did here. I just stamped one wing and then the other, or you can stamp both wings at a time, but you're going to want to stamp them twice. Then we're going to take the wings that are included in the coordinating die set, and you'll see that they have little X's. Well, that X marks the very top of the wing, so you want to make sure that the X is up on top, and that's going to tell you that the wing is going in the correct direction. So I'm going to take that die, make sure the wing is right on top, just like that, and then I can lay that on top of the wing and die cut it. And you'll see that the center part doesn't have any coloring or might have some little marks on it. That's fine. The only thing that matters is that wing. The rest of it's going to be hidden when we put our interactive element together. So we're going to do that and then run it through the die cut machine, and now we have a wing that has that little X that tells us that the wing is in the correct position and the holes that are perfect for the interactive element. I'm also cutting out those wings that we stamped on the bottom there where we just stamped them twice, and you can see that you can die cut them like that, and it's okay that there's some of the stamping on the other side because that's all going to be hidden when we create our interactive element. So either way works, selectively stamping or just stamping the wings twice, but I love them being together because that means you can also stamp them on that cute little bird. And then here is a look at our owl and our two wings ready to put on an interactive card. And the amazing Shari is going to go ahead and show us how to create a really cool waving pull tab card with the special delivery stamp set and the box add-on. And she's going to show us how to make this adorable card with that lift the flap tree backdrop. So thank you so much, Shari. We can't wait to see what you create.
Hello, so for my first card today, I'm going to be making a pull tab card that uses both special delivery as well as special delivery add-on. So I'll be using the dies in this set that cut the slots for the wings and the wings with the little holes in them. But before I do that, I'm going to work on my background piece that's going to go on the front. And this is the piece that's going to have the slots cut in it. So I've got a piece of ballet slipper cardstock that is cut to 4¼ by 5½, and I'm actually using the scalloped slimline rectangle to cut the two edges so I get this nice scallop detail along the edges, and it stops short of that mermaid card that's going to be in the back. So I'm just taping that to my card base temporarily so that I can use the guide for the slot at the top, because this lines up with the full width of the card base there, and I'm just going to center it up right against the top edge of that card and hold it in place with some tape. Then I can take the little guide here. I'm going to put that guide with that scallop for the tab, and then I'm going to use the little slot die that comes with special delivery, and I'm going to line that up with the square part of that guide. Now I can remove my guide. I'm going to take it off that mermaid card base, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine, and now I have my slot cut at the top as well as my slots for the wings. So I wanted to create a tone-on-tone background, and I'm going to be using all these envelopes and letters as well as the little sentiments that fit inside them. So I'm just going to put my little bird where he's going to be, along with the little package that he's going to carry. And I'm just laying these here for placement so I can see where they're going to be as I stamp my images around and create my custom pattern background. I'm going to use a mix of this envelope with the letters sticking out, as well as the closed ones, and also the piece of paper that doesn't have an envelope at all. I'm using Ballet Slipper ink on Ballet Slipper cardstock to get that really subtle tone-on-tone pattern. And I'm just filling up the background with these letters. And I am making sure to take those letters all the way to the edge of the paper, cutting some of them off, letting them hang off the edge. And this really gives it the look as if this was a piece of pattern paper that we die cut. So now that I have them all where I want them, I'm going to go in with the little sentiments included in this set, and I'm going to fill in those pieces of paper that are popping up out of the envelopes, as well as those single sheets of paper. So you can see there I stamped chirp, chirp, chirp on that one, filled it up nicely. And I just like how this makes a nice subtle pattern that has all these elements in the background if you really look closely, but it doesn't stand out too much. Now I'm just going in with that small heart in the set and filling it in just a little bit more, stamping that heart in between all those letters and envelopes. So now I have that background piece all finished, and I can start to assemble my card. So I'm going to start with putting together all the pieces of my bird here. So I'm putting a little bit of liquid glue on these strings that are going to hold my package. And I just put a little bit on the tips of those shorter strings and tucked it behind, and then put some on the back of the longer strings so they could go on the front. And then I have the little special delivery tag that's from the add-on stamp set, and I'm putting some thin foam squares on the back of it, and then I'm just going to place it to where it overlaps those strings on the box. For my little bird here, I've got this fun postal hat for him to wear. And I'm also going to add that little satchel that goes across the bird. I just think that's so cute, this little messenger bag for him to carry his letters and notes in. So now I can work on the pull tab mechanism. You can see that I have my two wings cut here, one going each direction. I've cut the long tab from some ballet slipper cardstock to match my background, and then I've cut that little stabilizer just from some white cardstock. I'm going to take a very small brad and thread it through the back of my pull tab. Those little stopper pieces are towards the top when you do this. And then on the wings, you want the little X that the die creates to be towards the top as well. So that way you know you have your wings on the proper side. And then you can open up the brad once you get those threaded onto it. And now you can thread the wings through the slots that the die cut from the back side. So you do kind of have to bend them slightly to get them in there, but they fit very nicely. And then now you can push the tab down to where the top lines up with the top of the cardstock and the top of the slot. And then this is the starting position for the wings. Now for that little stabilizer piece, it has some score lines that the die creates, and I'm just going to fold on those, and then I'm going to put some adhesive on that middle section that it creates there. This is going to stick to the back of this panel. So I'm going to slide it behind my tab, line up the top with those little stopper pieces that stick out on the tab, and just stick this down to that back of that card front. And then I can fold it over, put a little bit of adhesive on this tab here, and then fold it closed. And that's going to hold my pull tab in place, and it'll give it a place to stop so you don't push it down too far. And now you can test out those little wings and see how they wave perfectly. So I've cut a little decorative piece for the pull tab that has a little arrow from some peacock cardstock, and I'm just going to use a little bit of glue and go ahead and put that on the top of my tab. It folds in the middle, and you can just line up that fold with the top. Now I've added some foam adhesive to the back right down both sides. You want to avoid the center so that pull tab has room to move. And I'm just going to mount this onto a mermaid cardstock card base. And now I can add my little bird and my decorations. So I'm going to put some foam squares behind him. I'm making sure that those are just in the center. So you see I put that big one on the card base, so I made sure to avoid hitting the wings because you want to make sure that they move. And I'm just sort of testing where those wings are so I have him lined up perfectly. And then now I can add the little package. So I just tucked the top of the strings of the package behind the bird, and now I'm going to glue it into place. So for the sentiment on this card, I've cut one of the fancy wavy banners from Guava cardstock. This is the one that folds underneath, and I've gone ahead and I've folded it on the score lines that the die creates. I flipped it over, so now I'm looking at the back side of the die cut. And this is my little trick for curving your sentiments. I've laid the block on the back side because we mount those sentiments backwards. And now I can curve it with the correct curve, and when I flip it over, it's going to match. So I've just put some anti-static powder onto this die cut. I'm stamping with some clear embossing ink. You can see how that curve is correct now that I've flipped it over. And then I'm going to add some white embossing powder. And then I'll just heat that up with my heat tool so I get that nice bright white sentiment on this bright pink banner. And this really goes well with the color of the little messenger bag on my bird. So I'm just moving it back and forth till it's nice and hot and all that melts, and you can see how nice and bright white that sentiment is. And then I'm going to add some thin foam squares to the middle. I'm avoiding where the fold is. Where the fold is, I'm just going to add some tape runner. So this part's going to go right against the card base, and then the middle will pop up a little bit, and that'll give you room for those folds to be tucked behind the banner. So I'll just line that up towards the bottom and make sure it's nice and centered and straight. And then finally, I wanted to go in and add a little bit of sparkle to this card. So I've got some Stardust stickles, and I just added some stickles to all the little hearts that I stamped in the background. I also added some to the little heart on his hat and the button on the messenger bag, as well as the strap. So it just adds a little bit of interest and sparkle to this card, and I just think this is so adorable. And I love this little pull tab that makes the bird's wings move. It is just so cute. So for my second card, I wanted to use that cute little owl in the special delivery set, and I thought that he would be perfect to pair with the Lift the Flap tree backdrop. So I've cut that backdrop from some craft cardstock, and then to give it some interest and some depth, I'm going in with some tea dye distress ink and a blending brush and just adding a little bit of darker color to the edges of the trunks of the trees and the branches. I'm also going to put a piece of paper underneath those flaps and add a little bit to the openings of the trees so that they kind of stand out as well. And actually that center flap there is not going to open. It's going to be glued down because I'm going to have an owl sitting there, but I wanted to give it the same look as the rest of the trees. I've got a piece of Spiffy Speckles blue paper here. That's going to be my background to go behind my trees. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that onto a standard size card base, an A2 size card base, which is 5.5 by 4.25. So I'm just going to line that up with the folded edge and stick that down. And then my trees are going to go right on top of that. But to decorate the tops and the bottoms, I've taken a piece of Noble Fur cardstock and used one of the Stitch Cloudy borders. And I've taken a piece of Sage cardstock and used the Grassy border die. So these are going to go at the tops to create the canopies of my trees, and then of course the grass at the bottom. So that's going to cover up the frame that I have that's around this backdrop. And I wanted it to look like this scene was continuous and didn't have a frame on the sides. You're not going to see the frame on the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to go in with my scissors and trim that off. So I'm only trimming off the sides. You can see I almost cut off the corner, but I decided not to. I decided to leave the whole bottom piece because that is where my die cut pieces for the grass are going to get adhered down. And then I am going to trim it off at the end of the branches that go off the sides. So those branches will just stop and not go off the side of the card. But this just gives a different look to this die cut. So I've got a piece of narwhal cardstock. This is just a scrap, and I'm going to fill in behind the two trees where that circle is going to open, which is the two trees on the sides. So I'm just putting a couple dots of glue, and I'm going to adhere this to the back, making sure to avoid that opening that's going to open on the front. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, which I should have done before and gone ahead and creased that hinge. But you can see that will fill in the whole of the tree with some narwhal cardstock and give me a background to put my little surprises on. So I thought it would be fun to fill the openings of the trees with the letters and packages that these little owls and woodland creatures are collecting. So for this one, I've got two of the envelopes here, and I'm just going to kind of stack them inside like they've been tucked away inside the tree for safekeeping. So I'm making sure I'm tucking it sort of behind the opening a little bit. And then I'm just putting some glue behind them to hold them in place. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I've put 4 dots of glue. This time I'm going from the other direction. I'm going to lay mine on top. And then I can take this other letter here, and then I used the sheet of paper that's out of the envelope, and I'm going to tuck it behind the blue letter. So I stamped a little sentiment at the very top of it that has X's and O's, and I stamped it just at the top because I knew I was going to tuck it behind the envelope. So whatever was at the bottom was going to be hidden. So now that I have my trees kind of filled, I can glue all this to my card base. So I've put a piece of tape on that one in the center just to keep it from opening, but it's going to remain closed because one of my little owls is going to be glued on top of it. So I've just put some glue all over this die cut, and I'm just going to line it up on my card base. So keeping that top and bottom piece on there is helping me line it up as well. And then I can put a line of glue at the bottom because my grass is very thin, but that's going to sit on that line of the die cut at the bottom. And then for the top, I want to put my sentiment up here before I glue it to the card. So I'm going to be white embossing that. I'm adding some anti-static, and I'm using the sentiment that says, "All you need is love." So I've added my anti-static. I'm going to stamp it with that clear embossing ink. I'm using my grid mat as a way to make sure it's straight and centered. And then I'm going to add some white embossing powder. And then I'll just heat that up with my heat tool till it's all melted. So you end up with this nice bright white sentiment on that dark tree canopy at the top, which this card is going to be very filled with images, so this was the perfect place for this sentiment. So I thought it would be fun to kind of pop this up too, since it is a tree canopy and it's usually kind of out further than the tree trunk. So I'm just adding some foam tape to the top, and then it'll have a little bit of dimension off that background. So now to start adding my images and creating the scene. First, I want to cut a little slit in this box, and there is a die in this set that will cut that little slit, and that way you can put something in that open box. And in my case, I am using this little squirrel from Let's Go Nuts. I just think that is adorable, him popping out of the box. And then I'm going to add some wings to my owls here. So these are cut separately, and then you just layer them behind the owl. So I've got one with his wings out and one with his wings down. And this is the one that's going to go in the center, so you can see how it's covering up that hole, and he's going to be holding a letter. And then my other one, I'm going to put down here standing on this box. So I've got everything sort of placed where I want it, and now I can start gluing everything down. So I like the idea of taking this box. You can see I turned it so it's a tall box. It gives you a little more variety. I'm just cutting off the bottom so that I can tuck it behind the grass a little better. But if you turn the box on its end, you get another look that you can have a whole bunch of boxes. They don't all have to be flat like that. For my little squirrel popping out of the box, I'm going to put him on some foam squares so he's kind of in front of that purple box there. And then I decided I liked the green box in front of the grass better than tucked behind. So I'm going to put it on some foam squares as well, just like the teal one with the little squirrel. And I love this little envelope that says airmail. I think it's just adorable. And then finally, my little owl is going to sit on top of the box. I'm just making sure that that flap of the tree misses his ear. I don't want him to get caught, which it still closes. And then on the inside, I'm using a sentiment. I'm continuing my sentiment. So it says, "All you need is love" on the outside. And then on the inside, it says, "and this awesome card," which I just think is so much fun. So here's my finished card with those little flaps with the surprise mail inside. All you need is love and this awesome card.
Thank you so much, Shari, for showing us how to create these adorable cards. I love that background that she created on this card. It's so pretty. And using the lift the flap tree backdrop with that cool little canopy up top, absolutely genius. And next up, we have some amazing cards to show you from the design team. And this card by Yanea is just stunning. I love her inking and the interactive element and how she made it into a birthday card by using those beautiful pastel colors and that cute ribbon around the box. I just adore Audrey's gorgeous inking, those beautiful stars, and the really cool kind of Harry Potter vibe that this card has going on. This card by Mindy is so cool. It's a slimline card, but she was still able to use the really cool waving pull tab with it, and I think it's such a neat look. I love how Callie combined special delivery with the Happy Mail die set. Those two are just a perfect pair together and look so cute. This card by Maureen is so fun. I love that she has that great little village below with the owl flying above. And this card here by Elise is so sweet. I love all the boxes underneath the owl, just too adorable. I love how Melissa gave this really cool look by adding little sequins around as if they're kind of flying out of the box. I think that's so sweet. And then here, Elena got super creative and used the elements from the set with our cute little bears. How cool is that? This card by Grace is so sweet. I love the rainbow look and the pull tab element. And then when you open it up, it has this amazing surprise with that pop-up box inside. Megan got super creative and created her own mailbox, and when you pull that tab, there's a fun message inside, and I just love it. And Tammy also created a mailbox look. I love it so much, and I love that it's a shaped card so that when you open it inside, it says "Sending lots of love." I can't wait to see what you guys create with special delivery and the box add-on and the really cool interactive element with waving pull tabs, so make sure to share with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!